Good evening, Romany Rye, back again. Tonight I'm going to change the theme a bit. I'm going to go back to when I first went on my own. Somewhat triggered this memory today. I was watching a film on the television and I thought, bugger me, I remember that job. Anyway, when I first went on my own, my cousin Eddie knocked a hole in the edge. And people genuinely, I only had a garden. It was the biggest garden. I suppose he was 100 foot long and 100 foot deep. Fair old bit of ground. That's where I started my scrapyard, as I've told you. Anyway, back in the days, the gathers used to turn up every month, regularly, to check your books, to see who been in with scrap and who hadn't been in with scrap. You got to take all their details, write down what it was and all this, blah, blah, blah. So the gathers used to come round once a month to check all your books. So for some reason, I was the same address, Etterbank United Road, Sunday, as has always been, because it was all in the same place. For some reason, my details got transferred to Truro. I knew all the Red Roof gathers, but I didn't know the Truro ones. Anyway, this particular day, this gather turned up. Come and see your books. Yeah, I said, Donald got him in the office in there. It was a little garden shed, that's what it was. 8x6 garden shed or 6x8, something like that. Anyway, in he goes. Donald told me that late afterwards that he was in there asking hundreds of questions. What was it this year, and who's that there, and this, that, and the other. All things about the yard, which is strange. Anyway, Donald said he signed the book and he closed the book. He said, yeah, all that's in order. He said, but I want to see your scrap license. He said it should be up on the wall for anybody to inspect and see. Donald said, well, this has been a scrapyard for years. He said, I'm not saying that. There has to be a scrap license to the man who's responsible, or the people who are responsible for it. Donald calls me in I goes. I can take this mush. He can be argumentative. You can tell it, can you? So he said, everything's in order. He said, but where's the scrap license? I said, I don't know nothing about a scrap license. I said, I obviously haven't got one, have I said, what's the reason for a scrap license? He said, well, the reason is that once you're registered, you're on the register, and then when things get stolen, we can look at the register and see who's buying the scrap, and we'll call on you. That's what the register is for, he said. But you're not on the register. You obviously haven't got a license. I said, no. He said, I'll be back next month, he said, and I would have expected you to at least done something about it. I said, fair enough, and then off he went, but he was no good. At that time, I was pricing a lot of tenders, because back then, the tenders used to come up in the newspaper. So you ring up or you send in for the details and they send you a tender form back. So me and Donald was pricing these jobs. Admittedly, some of the jobs that come up back then, you had wooden top desks and you had wooden chairs. They chucked it all in the scrap compounds. A lot of it was no good anyway. But there wasn't many people that was in for it, see? So anyway, I never took any notice of the tender form. But on the tender form it said license number. But I never put nothing in there because I never had a license number. Anyway, as soon as I put the license number down, we was winning a few tenders. And it was cushy because nobody really wanted to bother with them. So anyway, this tender come in for St. Morgan. And I was looking through it because you always look through it before you go to make sure that it's even going to be worth you having a look. So it said the usual stuff like quantity of steel, quantity of aluminium and all like that. But it said on there, quantity of aluminium mess tins. So I said, well, Donald, that sounds interesting. I said, we've got tomorrow and have a look. Right, he said. Donald comes in, as normal, with his Kraus bag over his shoulder, his flasks, and his sandwiches, and he always carried his notebook. He had a notebook for everything that went on. He always wrote it down. Anyway, off he goes. Gets up there now, and as with all government establishments, you've got to have your driving license and your ID. Gets in, and there was only 2 pallets of these mess tins. There's about, I don't know, 1.5 feet square with an aluminium lid and 2 handles on each side. The handles were steel. Why they did that, I don't know, but it was. Anyway, looked around, and whilst we was there looking around, in the corner underneath a load of old crap, there was 4 dummy missiles, but 8 foot long with big fins on the back. So what do I thought to myself, if I get say, I'll put it out in the front of my yard, out the gate, by the gate, they look alright. Anyway, wins the tender. So I said to Donald, we better go on up, Donald, and pick this stuff up. Anyway, pays for it. And then once you pay for it, they send the release notes. Jumps in the lorry, off he goes. They rung through to the forklift man, and he was going to meet us at the compound because he was the man who had the keys. Anyway, when we got to the compound, I'm not exaggerating here, there was about 30 pallets of mess tins. I said to Donald, Dickie, how much? He said, oh, that's custy. I said, don't rock her next. He says, no, I won't say no. So before I had to say a word, the old forklift driver said, I brought these up from down the bottom, he said. Save doing it on when you come. So he obviously thought that we went down to the bottom, they was in the stockyard. According to the forklift driver, we never even seen them. But we ended up with the job. Anyway, I could get 4 pallets on each side. No, 3 pallets on each side with a little bit of room on the back. Anyway, this is cushy now because we got 20 odd pallets, 25 or 6 pallets, maybe 30 pallets more than what we should have had. I can't remember exactly now. Anyway, brings back the first load, first couple load. It's all on pallets, see, and shrink wrapped on. Brings back the first load, offloaded, and in come Uncle Larry, my father's brother. Looking around. He said, what's that? I said, mess tins. He took one out of the thing, looked at him. He said, I think Max Salvers will buy some of that, you know, because Max Salvers was government surplus. I said, try. Anyway, he took one with him, off he went. We went on, cleared the job, and we had all these pallets of stuff there, these old dummy missile things, and there was a load of stainless there as well. And we had some wood stuff there. Anyway, Uncle Harry comes back. He said, Max Salver said they'll take 200. Now, I know Uncle Harry would try and strike me a little bit. And so I had a joke with him. I said, yeah, I said, I bet they will. He said, no, how much they will? I said, how much? He said, £3 a piece, and I'll take £1 a piece out of them. £4 a piece, he said, that's what they'll pay. Well, that's fair enough. Anyway, he loaded these up on a truck and we was there. Donald now had to clean the rest, knock the handles off. So at that time, I was real friendly with a man called Roddy Rigby. Now he was a partner of what was Ashton and Adam Skipper. Lovely man, Cockney. Real gent. Anyway, because he knew I was a traveller, he used to tell me about the trolley boys in London, the rag and bone men. He said, on Sundays, mate, they used to do up their horses, he said, all flashed up, washed out, all ribboned up. Get down to the old pub, he said, get blind drunk. He said, and then they'd race back. He said, and a lot of them only had front doors. They had an archway beside their kenners. The horses would go in, they knew where to go, see? Go in through the archway, and they had a stall there to tie the horse up, a bit of an old lean-to in behind, and maybe a little bit of a yard. He said, and that's what they used to do. Race back from the pub on a Sunday. Good old times. And he used to tell me all the old tales. Anyway, Roddy bought himself, when he sold the skip business, he bought himself a couple of new diggers. In fact, I used one of his diggers to load one of those shipments of scrap that I sent out. Anyway, he bought a couple of diggers and this 8-wheel tipper. How many mess tins I had? We loaded that 8-wheel tipper by hand with these mess tins all the way back through the lorry to the top, and 2 on top. You had to put nets over. It was a load of wind, really. I think there was only about 3 ton or 3.5, 4 ton on there. But nevertheless, that's what we had to do. So, yeah, we had a good old deal there. Now, I thought I'd put the missiles out on my front gate. And I stuck them in the ground with the ends up, with the big flared ends up on the top, out the ground, see? So the council come, made me take they down, so I had to take them down. Now, I let a man have them up in the village, and his son got them now. I'm hoping I might get them back one day. A chap called Stephen Richards got them up there till this day. Anyway, another tender coming. This time from Cold Rose. Tender, quantity of steel, quantity of aluminium fuselage pieces that he used to use for demonstration purposes and learning purposes. And it said quantity of copper. Now, I thought to myself, everybody's going to be up there looking at this. But I did ring George Turner up. I said, George, I'm going to look at some copper. I said, and if I want a keen price, I'll do what I can for you, Clarence. He said, anyway, goes up to Cold Rose now, me and Donald. Looks around the compound, same thing. Wood cabinets, scrap iron, stainless, all sorts of stuff. Now, there was a bit of copper lying on the floor, see? So the forklift driver said, the copper's in the shed. Oh yeah. It goes in the shed. And there it was. Buzz bar like that, round bars. They took down a substation. And I don't think the RAF did it. I think they had a contractor in. But the copper bars was put in the shed. I guess about 6 foot long. And copper plate that bolted it all together. And all the nuts and bolts, it was all there. The complete substation. Donald looked at me, I looked at Donald, I said, how much you reckon? He said, there's at least 3 ton there. I said, you think so? Yeah, he said. Picked up one, judged him. I had in my head it was more than that. Anyway, comes back, I rings George Turner up. Told him. I says, buzz bar, Mr. Turner. About 3 ton. Oh, he said. I think copper was about 8 to 900 pound a ton. So, give me a price. Put in for it. We got it. Turned out there was 5 ton there of these round bars and flat copper bars. Anyway, took it up to George Turner. I think he actually gave me £1,000 a ton for it. And we had a good old screw at that time, out of that job. But it was good times because the big boys, see, like Sir Malcolm Drew, Tommy Ware and Johnny Orchard and that, they never bothered with it. Maybe they would look at it once they dig the old wood with it and the old rubbish, they didn't want to know. But little old me, I would just slip in behind them and buy this stuff. Now, a man said to me one day, a man who will feature in the stories later on, a bloke called Roger Jameson. He said, Clarence, he said, I'll give you a little tip. Roger was a nice man. He was Tommy Ware's partner, really, when it come to government stuff. But he was never a greedy man. He said, I'll give you a little tip. He said, if you're going to put in £2,500 or something, he said, put in £2,501.50. He said, because that £1.50 might get you that job. He said, a lot of people might put in £2.5 grand, might be 2 or 3 of you, but put in £2,501.50. He said, you'll get it. He said, I don't know why I'm telling you that. He said, but I got a lot of time for you. You're a hard worker. He said, that's what you need to do. And sure enough, the man was right, man. Yeah, after that, I always put in a few odd quid on the end of the tender. And it seemed to work. But that was another good old job, see. God bless him, poor old Donald. He used to rub his hands together. But I was always fair with Donald, thank you, man. If we had a good hit, I always looked after him. I'm not talking about no 10s or 20 quids either. Yeah. And today, before I finish this video, I had a lady turn up here who I've known for 59 years. Remember me telling you about a man called Mickey Burroughs, who was my dad's partner? Well, his wife Beverly turned up here today. She'd been watching the old YouTubes and TikToks, and it turns out she only lives 30 miles away from me. But that's a long time to know somebody. She turned up and it was nice to see her. And we talked about the old times. And she told me a few stories as well that I didn't know about, that I will talk about a bit later on. So we're on about 20 minutes now, and the old clocks are back to normal. And I've had enough for one day, and I'll say good night from the wrong in your eye. God bless you all. I'll catch you next time.